Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show we're talking about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Roswell, New Mexico. A great episode, lots and lots of interesting things went down in this episode. So let's break it down. We had the ultimate trifecta group of Cameron, Alex, and Kyle all being club, we know aliens exist type of situation. I love that because Cameron went to Alex because it's like, nah, because I know how much your dad's having me spy on you. I know how much you hate your dad. So it's like the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And then Kyle gets mixed up in all of this, and it's so good, especially because she's like, I didn't know what to expect. Max, finding out he's an alien serial killer potentially. I'll get to that in a second, but it's like, well, what did you think? It's just like, I don't know. Wizard serial killer. It's just like that's a lot to kind of process, but it turns out that there's been other murders since Rosa was the first, and subsequently after that point there were 13 other deaths. So there's a lot to kind of break down about this situation when it's all said and done, because obviously, well, there's a lot to talk about. Okay. So obviously you have Alex shutting down, Operation Shepherd, but now he reopens it because it's like they've got to hunt down this one last alien to find out the truth about all this. And then there's also the situation of, because obviously this whole situation is covered up by Alex's dad. It's been being covered up for the past 10 years, all these different deaths, all deaths related to handprints. And so it turns into a situation of, this was all for the purpose of trying to keep everyone from finding out about aliens being a thing. Obviously trying to keep it a well-kept secret, because if they didn't, obviously there'd be a lot of mass panic and everything like that. So there's that. And then Kyle finds out later on that this Dr. Holden, the one that was used to forge all these papers and stuff like that, these deaths of people who seem like they wouldn't be missed or whatever, and it turns out that this same person also signed Kyle's dad's death report. So it's like his dad was also potentially killed by this particular alien. And so all this while, you had Michael and Max following a lead of the symbol. They're trying to follow it to this healer in Arizona, thinking, hey, maybe she's like them, maybe can help them understand everything about themselves. Turns out Maria and Liz go there as well, because Maria wants, to potentially find a healer for her mom, because her mom's condition is getting worse and she's scared, So lo and behold, just a funny universal thing kind of bringing together like this. It seems like, hey, Arizona might be legit, and then she brings up the 8,000 thing. I'm like, oh, is she just an asshole or something? It's like, no, she's just a con artist, and obviously Max and them got super pissed because it's like, you're, gathering up all these people who are coming so far to get you to heal them, and it turns out you're a scam. So many people are placing so many high hopes and bets in you, and you're scamming them. But it turns out there is a deeper connection with all this, because the lady that was working with Arizona ends up revealing that basically there was a woman on a reservation who could heal, and every time she left, around her, that symbol, the symbol that's on Max's back, the symbol that he's following, the same symbol we saw happen when he touched the pod, it turns out it would appear, whether it be water that was spilled would form it, or firewood. Apparently she died 20 to 21 years ago, the same time the three of them woke up from the pods. And when she died, she basically was like, oh, he's here now, basically being like, well, it's my time to go. So it seems like it's a situation, either she was some spiritual healer and that she knew that the sky, the stars would bring a new healer to this world and everything, and that's when she passed on. Or the fact is that she was an alien herself, and she sensed that, because it's just a little coincidental that she just happens to die when those trio awake. Is it the fact is that, did she know it was the time? Was her death what triggered them waking up? That it was the perfect time for them to wake up? Or was it just an alien that just happened to die around the same time or whatever? It's hard to say in that regard, but it kind of was proof that, hey, maybe they weren't alone. And even Liz is kind of putting this together to be like, yeah, there might be another alien out here more dangerous than, anyone gives them credit. Because that's another thing too. Because now this makes me think everything that happened, because Isabel hasn't hurt anyone subsequently since Rosa was the only person she hurt. Yes, she blacked out and everything, but the argument could be like, well, she just never got an opportunity to hurt someone. What if these blackouts are connected to another alien? What if that's what this is all about? Because the thing is, when Rosa was killed, it left a mark on her mouth, sure. But all those other bodies had the same mark too. But that's not Isabel's power. Her power is all about getting people's mind. If anyone's going to leave a mark, it would be Max. So whoever this is has to have a power very similar to Max, but the only person who had that power is a healer. Not unless there was another alien, like the one that died was only one of two. Maybe this is connected to a parent situation. Maybe we're talking about twin alien siblings or something like that, where the good sibling is the one that died and the bad sibling, because maybe that's why the healer all those years ago was healing all those people to try and make up for the fact that I've done a lot of it's like maybe that person did some terrible things, or maybe that person just wanted to try and make up, or this alien wanted to make up for things, just wanted to try and help with whatever they had, like, hey, I have this power, let me help. So maybe that's it. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of different directions they could potentially take this going forward with that, but it's so interesting that they, like I said, because it would have to be someone who had the same powers as Max, considering that other person was a healer, but this other person can leave marks. Not unless we're talking about two separate people, like in a sense of like Max is a combination of the two. Like maybe these two particular aliens had polar opposite abilities. One that could heal, one that had the darker side of that ability could kill. Or maybe they both could heal and that one just chose to use its power to kill. Who knows? But it does beg the question, like, maybe that's why Isabel kind of acted weird like she did, and what happened. Like, maybe that alien somehow got in contact with her. Or, maybe it's supposed to be representative of maybe it's going to be a twist where it's, in actuality, Isabel is technically two people. I mean, obviously we saw her have a split personality, but maybe of their species, ladies have split personalities like that. They literally split and become two different beings. And maybe Isabel just never went through the fuel transformation or something like that. I know I'm really pulling shit out of my ass, so it's I don't know, And so, I'm like I said, it's a point of just pulling out wild theories. And another wild theory of mine is because obviously, who is this other alien? It has to be someone we've met in Roswell. My mind is kind of set on Noah, because not only did Noah go oh yeah, I found my wife, because he made such a fuss, I need to find my wife. If you don't, I'm going to call such a hubbub, Max is hiding stuff from me and blah, blah, blah. But he found her in the pod, and then it's he didn't say anything. He's oh yeah, everything's good, and hasn't said anything to anyone. If it was just a normal situation, you'd think he'd be freaking out. Unless... not unless Noah is the alien, and he's because whoever, all these people that were killed were prostitutes and homeless people who wouldn't be missed. So we are dealing with potentially just a full-blown serial killer. I don't know if that's necessarily Noah, or now the other side of that could be Noah in actuality could be part of this situation too. It might be a legacy thing like it is for Kyle and Alex. His family might be connected to the whole Roswell thing of protecting the world from aliens, and now he realizes his wife is an alien, and that leads to a whole complication. We'll see. Like I said, because he didn't have a reaction I was kind of expecting, So, and obviously, Liz and Max and no one else knows that happened and went down like that, so that's interesting. Other interesting things, kind of more on the juicy, tantalizing side of things, it's oh yeah, Michael and Maria kind of hooked up. Kind of not too surprised by that, just because all the times Michael was flirting with her and stuff like that. But then I'm kind of oh, that's a little complicated considering the whole Alex situation. Then you have the whole Liz and Max making out thing, but it's they fought it for so long, and then they finally made out and everything, and it's oh, but what about Kyle? It's complications all over the place. I feel like that's the more complicated thing. To be fair, Alex and Michael weren't in necessarily a good spot. Even Maria was oh, we're not, that's never going to happen again. And even Michael's yeah, sure it won't, we'll see where things go, because it is interesting, because Alex, obviously he's listening to what his dad's saying, but then Kyle had to tell him, it's yeah, they've done things I can't forgive them for, but it's these are the same people we went to school with. We know them. If you really care about Alex, have a conversation with him. And he ultimately does. He was about to walk away when he saw Maria's necklace in his boot, because for him it's just oh, this is Michael, he's such a player, I guess what we have, if there is anything, doesn't really matter. But then he was no, you know what? I'm tired of not saying what I want to say, and kind of makes it clear. It's like there was a connection between us, even though we never talked. It was almost, and Michael's like cosmic, and he's like, yeah, but it doesn't make any sense. I want to be your friend, and he's like, I don't, Alex is kind of confused. It's like, I want to know who you are. And Michael goes, you mean you want to know what I am? And he's like, yes. So, Michael kind of figures out, like, you know what I am. So that's definitely going to be interesting. Like I said, the club of figuring this whole thing out potentially is getting bigger because you also add in Noah and everything, whatever that situation ends up being. And I have no idea what it is, Like I said, there is some good that came about it because it's like, oh, Liz and Max, for them. Because even Liz was like, yeah, I'm not pissed about what happened anymore. Because for her, it's like, how can I be pissed at you for doing something when you were young, trying to protect your sister? Considering the fact is you kind of had to deal with that all on your own. The fact of the matter is, I would do anything for my sister. So how can I kind of fault you for that? Because for her, she's like, she's lived her life always kind of not wanting to trust people. For her, it's like she doesn't believe people are good by nature. But for Max, even after all of this, she still thinks that Max is a good person. And she has, she believes in that. And Max is like, you believe that about me. And it's like, believe, I have faith in you that you'll be able to save Isabel. Because for her, she doesn't want to save Isabel yet because she's worried. Because it's like, if I do this wrong, I'm going to end up killing your sister. But it's like, Max is like, you won't. Because for her, it's like Max holds her to such a high standard because it's like you're in love with you because you're saying like you treat me like I'm perfect. The fact of the matter is I'm a mess, and everything. But for Max is like, no, I know you're not perfect, and I love you despite all that. Like despite your flaws, I love you. Because for him, it's like, Rosa was so complicated and hard to love in a certain regard. So, to make things easier, to make herself easier to love, Liz became this perfect girl and had to be super smart. So it'd be easier on her mom, easier on her dad, which the whole mom situation is still something we haven't 100% covered. So I'm curious to see if that's going to potentially become anything. We also found out too, like, obviously, like, Liz was like the 5th person that Max had seen die in front of him. Because for so long, it's like the fact of the matter is maybe I have this gift. I can heal people. But Liz was like, you get sick every time you do it. It's like, yeah, but maybe I can actually do good. It's like, here's a false healer like Arizona. Maybe I can actually do some good with my gift. Because his situation is a little bit different. Like, his power is a lot more taxing than Isabel and Michael's. I mean, it's kind of interesting because even Michael doesn't suffer the same ramifications that, like, Isabel and Max does. Like, Max still seems like he takes the brunt of everything. Isabel gets drained, but Michael's the one that Max is the one that kind of gets the most deathly ill from using his powers. I guess because Michael's used his so much. Like, Isabel and Max haven't used theirs that much over the years, but I think Michael has constantly used his to the point he doesn't need to recharge as much as they do. His power isn't as taxing as theirs is, so it's just kind of interesting. I never really thought of it like that, because I was like, yeah, he's the only one we've never seen get super worn out from his powers, It does beg the question, because obviously the whole thing came up about this episode about, like, oh, could, like, Arizona heal Michael's hand? It's like, given a chance, Max might be able to push. Maybe he's tried in the past to heal Michael's hand, or maybe he was scared to. But I think I'm curious to see, like, if given the opportunity, could he do it? Like, once again, that's probably like a situation of if he pushes his healing abilities further, if he practices, and maybe he could do more with it, do good, So we'll see. I'm so interested to see what because obviously, like, oh, Liz and Max are finally a thing potentially. Like I said, it's also going to be interesting because there's the whole Kyle thing. Makes you wonder, will that whole Maria thing kind of throw a wrench in the whole Alex and Michael thing? Just because I think, it was like, oh, it was kind of like Maria was drunk. She wasn't, she's in, she's dealing with everything in her mom. She was, lonely. So it's like he was there for her in that moment and everything. So maybe nothing will come about it. Maybe something will. Who knows? It's interesting. Like I said, more people found out about the aliens in this situation than I thought would. I thought it would stay like a Liz situation. But immediately at the beginning of this season, they start, bam, nope, Kyle knows. Because Liz went to him, and it's just like slowly but surely, like, everything's unraveled to the point a lot more people than I was expecting, even over the course of the season to find out, have found out about aliens being a thing. I meant to talk about this earlier too, but kind of further proof of the connection is, remember, like I brought it up last episode, how when he touched the pod, the symbol popped up. I might have brought that up earlier. I don't remember if I said it or not. If not, I'm reiterating myself, so I do apologize. But the fact is that the symbol follows Max anywhere, to the point, like, you know, subconsciously he got the tattoo on his back because he has to have some connection to the healer that was, you know, that died like 20 to 21 years ago. They are about to test the cure on Isabel, so it's definitely going to be interesting to see her kind of wake up. Because, like I said, she did something back then, but once again, I want to know, was that 100% Isabel, or was there someone controlling her? Like I said, like I said, I threw out a lot of crazy just thoughts and just flooding through my head of like, it could be this, it could be that. I'm so interested to find out what ends up being the case with all this. Like I said, who is that other alien? Like I said, it's got to be someone we know within all of this. Like I said, currently my money's on Noah, but like I said, and since I started thinking about it, I do feel like I'm leaning more towards the whole, he might be part of the military thing of like this whole alien hunting thing might be his legacy too, which that would add a whole different layer to the complicated nature between, you know, of his relationship with Isabel. And if that is, like, it all is determined by when Isabel returns, how Noah reacts. That's going to be the telling sign of where he stands in all of this, potentially. Whether he says something or not, we'll have to see. I am very interested to see what the next episode has in store for us with all of this. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good